Hi, welcome everyone. This is the Healthy Roja podcast with me, Dishan Kumar. Edwin is unfortunately not well, so he can't join us today. But as you can see, we have a very, very special guest, Mr. Gajen, who is one of my favorite stand-up comedians as well. He's here to actually talk to us about mental health and a few different things. Gajen, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Dishan, for having me. Very excited indeed.
How has it been so far for you? Stand-up comedy, and I believe you were emceeing some events and things like that.
Yep.
How has that been?
Oh, it's been very busy, especially the last Q3 and Q4 of 2022, because companies were a bit doubtful for last year to do physical live events. This year they immediately did. They had no choice, but you know what? Let's do it for our employees. Because one of the pain points in the corporate scene is basically employees feeling demotivated.
Yeah lah.
Right? And when you're not happy, when you're not at your best, it's very hard to be productive.
Yeah, I think because the whole COVID thing happened and the
Correct.
work from home, and I'm sure you know this. All of us had to work from home, and
Yep.
it's kind of demotivating and not very productive. So
Exactly. Yeah.
So physical events are here. I wanted to ask you about because I've noticed this being a stand-up comedian. How did you manage to kind of um, portray yourself or market yourself as an MC for corporate events? How did that start off, and how did you get to do it? Because I don't really see a lot of stand-up comedians doing MCing for corporate events and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it starts off from a much bigger picture, like from stand-up comedy itself. Well, when anyone embarks stand-up comedy, the big question we always tell them is, why are you going up on stage? In fact, even for any careers, you got to ask yourself the why first, which people don't until today. You'll be surprised. A lot of people don't know their whys in life, their purpose, right? So my why is basically to make people laugh. But what kind of style in stand-up comedy will be intellectual jokes that are clean. So I guess because of that, corporate folks who came to my shows, like stand-up comedy shows at clubs and all that, they see, hey, the material is pretty clean. Let me engage this guy, and then they will sometimes message me or WhatsApp me or type in my website, and then it slowly gets spread out. Plus with my social media postings that, hey, I've done this dinner and all that. I guess that's how it gets. The words get spread around.
So I say if an aspiring stand-up comedian wants to follow in your footsteps, they would kind of need to make clean jokes, basically.
Yeah, but what I would recommend them is basically, are they okay making clean jokes? No? Because some people, they want to do a bit more, dirtier jokes and then go ahead. Because at the end of the day, in stand-up comedy, you got to be the best version of yourself. So I've got friends who I don't see them doing clean jokes. I don't think so they'll do as well. Just like me, if I were to do dirty jokes, I won't be able to perform as well because that's just not me. So at the end of the day, is basically asking, who are you? And this may be a very basic, fundamental question, but a lot of people still don't know who are they. Yeah.
Okay. So any aspiring stand-up comedians watching the show, that's a tip for you straight away from Gajen. Okay. Let's talk about the reason you're here on this podcast is mental health. When we had a discussion to do this episode, you told us the story about you kind of realized how important it was during that whole COVID period, that 2020 when we were working from home. Maybe you can give a bit of insight on that. When did you kind of realize for you, mental health is actually important?
So it all started off during the first MCO, the first lockdown. And if I remember correctly, middle of March 2020.
Yeah.
So I had no issues with lockdown and all that, because at the time I thought it was a break and all that, and I was trying out new things because we had a lot of time. So in fact, I myself started my own podcast. I did my own videos and all that. Some things took off, some things didn't. But as I started producing more content, I started receiving messages from various people on social media. Say, hey Gajen, I really enjoyed your video and all that. It really made my day because I'm quite depressed. Yeah. And one key takeaway that I got from all these messages, because I used to have the assumption that people who are depressed are usually struggling financially. But turns out no, depression does not pick your income bracket, does not pick your stability and all that. You could be the richest person, because I have some people sharing their positions and also their company to me. They say, hey, I'm having this role in this company and I've been feeling very depressed, but thanks to your video, it really made my day. And that's when it opened up my mind. It's like, okay, this is quite interesting that talk about like happiness, being happy, something simple, but adults forget it. If you look at kids, they are great at being happy. You just put them even in a field, they'll do something, I don't know, pluck the grass,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
they'll just
yeah.
do. But adults, you see them childish, but then we adults, if you think about it, we are behind them in terms of happiness. So that's the moment where it struck me about mental health. Before that, I wasn't even aware about mental health because, awareness and education about mental health quite, still low.
Thorough lah, yeah. um, that's very interesting because as kids and how they are all naive and innocent and untouched with all the bad things of the world, and how we adults are quite, we have gone through a lot lah.
Yeah.
So that's why we are more there's a different definition for happiness for everyone. So
Correct.
what would you define as your definition of happiness?
Basically, I would say respecting myself. A lot of people, they live their lives pleasing other people, but they forget about themselves. It's just like if I use an analogy, it's like the plane. They say before you put an oxygen mask to the other person, put it on yourself. Because before you help others, you got to take care of yourself. So you'll be surprised. Again, another fundamental thing, but a lot of people live their lives trying to please other people, and then they realize that because when you do that, your happiness is dependent on other people. And the idea is to not create a lot of dependencies, right? The idea is to be independent. So I've known a lot of people who get depressed. I've been like reading articles where say, oh, I feel depressed because my friends left me after I earned less. Then clearly it shows that, they are just not wrong. You are also wrong in terms of mindset, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I guess it's like respecting yourself, doing what you enjoy. And I'm a strong believer in karma. So I believe that you got to do good. Because if you do good, eventually you'll get, blessed good in whatever form.
Okay, I think I would agree with that. So I'm a huge believer of the universe is there out there, and you want to put as much of good out there in the universe so that you get good yourself. I think that's karma as well. I think for me, happiness is trying to find that balance in life where you want to be able to enjoy the things that you like, take the paths that you choose, but also like grow every day. I think that's very important. A lot of us forget
definitely.
that,
Yeah.
It's always about, because we have been programmed in school, right? We have to study well and get a good job and earn a lot of money and buy a house and get married, have children. That whole checklist everybody has.
Yeah.
And people think that checklist is happiness, but it's not.
Yeah.
You need to kind of be able to try to figure out who you are first and what do you want to do, and that kind of already brings you happiness.
Good thing that you brought up that checklist. That's another pattern that I saw, because like I am currently, actually how old I am, 33 years old this year.
Still young lah, bro.
I know,
Come on.
but people message me saying that, oh, you're not married, why? So you notice this question, the why. Because
like so judgmental, right? You're not married, why?
No. If you apply like reverse thinking, it shows that it's been programmed in their minds that after a certain age you need to get married.
Yeah.
People don't have this thinking. No, you can get unmarried your whole life and still be happy.
Yeah.
So there's no like one direct thing. That's one of the issues with a lot of people. They have this certain pattern because it starts to make your angles acute, not wide angle. Oh, I have to pick this job. So yeah, that's another good thing that you brought that up. A lot of people are just like rigid.
Yeah, that checklist, right? I think it comes from environment. Like growing up, what was your type of environment? Because I come from like a very traditional family, and they were like, Gajen, you have to do engineering. So I did engineering, but I hated it.
Okay.
And then I found my passion in broadcasting and media and things like that. So
that's how you get disowned lah. Broadcasting. In family gathering, you're broadcasting news. Now you want to broadcast.
So exactly that. So it was very difficult for me to kind of tell, because at that time when I was, I finished my SPM and everything, I wanted to do psychology actually, because I enjoy talking to people and I enjoy analyzing how people think. I've always asked, even I read a news article about a criminal doing this, I was asked, why? Why does it happen? Why? What was the trauma that they went through?
Yeah.
So my thinking has always been there. So I was very interested in psychology. But when I went and told my mom, she's like, no, your sister did engineering, you do engineering, So that was that was my story and why I was pushed into that. So environment, I think, plays a very important part.
Yeah, yeah.
And you say that the checklist and people are so rigid all the time. Is it because their family also is like that? And does it come from exposure? Do you think that would help people to kind of like move away from the rigidness and move away from the checklist?
I guess I would say yes, environment, and also I would say like thinking skills. Like if you think about it, like we are not taught how to think. You realize our entire education system is mainly just absorbing knowledge. We are not even taught how to learn, by the way. We learn, but we are not taught how to learn.
Yeah.
It's two different things. So I guess all these things, because like what I just said, right, is actually logical thinking. Like just now I just said, you don't have to get married by a certain age because logically it doesn't make sense. You know, if you get married by 30, 32, there's no right or wrong. So this is just logic, basic. We are not taught how to think logically. I only picked up thinking skills when I was working as an IT consultant in Accenture. And I was thankful enough to work one-on-one as an analyst with senior managers and like MDs. And they really pushed me hard on like thinking skills. They even like apply reverse thinking. Whenever I ask a question, like, what do you think my answer is? And then I will have to apply reverse thinking. And you'll be surprised that 30% of the time when I answered, what do you think, is correct.
So you didn't really have to
I
ask
didn't
the
have
question.
to ask, exactly. It pushed me. So this kind of thinking skills, that's why I stayed in my company, even though I was slow to progress, because I was getting this one-on-one coaching with what do you call it, all the leads in terms of thinking skills. So people sometimes very hard to blame them also because they don't know how to think. If you give them an open slate, you know, just how to think. Like if I ask people like, if you were to create your own education system, can you name me the first 5 subjects and why? They'll be most of them will probably say the current subjects, but just tweak it a bit because you know why, patterns. So if you give them a blank mind, you'll be surprised. A lot of people struggle. So I guess thinking skills, you know, environment, you know, and very hard to blame parents also. That's another thing, right? Because they come from a different generation. My parents are boomer generation. They said the same thing. Are you sure? Like after MCO kicked in, they said, you want to be an IT consultant again? Like, you know, you got, remember EPF, remember SOXO, dental, you remember scaling, you don't have to pay.
Monthly salary coming in.
I'm meanwhile using my floss, you know. Like, yes, I'm scaling my own teeth now. Like. But yeah, so it's very hard to go hard on that because I see some youngsters going really hard on their parents. See, this is where balanced thinking applies and also emotional intelligence. You cannot blame them also because their time, no internet, no nothing.
Yeah.
So their patterns are very strong in them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think our parents' generation is always been do what's safe. Take the safe
Correct.
option. Be safe. You know, there's not a lot of jobs out there. You know, if you have a company, that's why you find like I know people and I know uncles and aunties, friends' parents. They've been in a company for 25 years. Been in a company for 30 years. You know, because they have come into that safe zone, and then they have given because of that stability you have in the household. It's actually helped their children pursue their dreams.
Correct.
So it kind of works in our generation, in favor to our generation in that sense. Because my mom was the type of person where I'm from Johor Bahru and she was the person who takes the bus and goes to Singapore every day. And she does the whole horrible travel thing. And because of her sacrifices, I got the chance to do what I wanted to do.
Podcast lah.
Yes. IT consultant and ex-engineer.
I went to Singapore and now you're interviewing strangers.
On a podcast. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, maybe we can move on to the next like point of our podcast is things you can control and things you can't. So we talked about the checklist.
Yeah.
You had people asking you why you're not married. People always put a lot of thought into what they can control in their lives. They always want to see that I want to be able to do this and I want to be able to do that. I need to earn good job. I need to earn good money. I want to find a good person. I want to get married. All that checklist things. But a lot of things you can't really control. You can't really control what people think of you.
Yep.
You can't really control what people say to you.
Yep.
But the reaction is what you can control.
Correct.
So what is your thoughts on things you can control and things you can't control? Your thoughts?
Yeah. So I would say people should. The first line they say is actually very important. You'll be surprised. Majority of society is the other way around, right? They get their emotions are mainly based on things that are out of control. So I noticed this during the first lockdown.
Okay.
Like people say, oh, the SOPs are constantly changing. The lockdown is it just got extended. I'm working from home for the last couple of months. I said, these are things out of control. What is within your control? You got a lot of time. Not only a lot of time, you way more time, not just because of lockdown, because no traffic. Imagine all the hours you've been spending on time. Now you have it. Not only that, I think you're also healthier. Like, yeah, you can do workout at home and all that, but at least mentally you're healthier, because being in traffic is not the best mental health exercise. Lah. That's more like
that's very stressful.
Yeah. So a lot of people were actually very depressed because they were focusing on things that are out of control. But when you have your 24 hours, you have time and all that. Those who didn't do anything during the 3 lockdowns, I think they would have wasted their time, because those are valuable times. Not only when the air quality is better, you look at where environment was healing and all that. That's why for those who actually did a lot of trial and errors during MCO, they are looking at the fruits now. Like, I know I was trying. So I would say people should focus on things that are within their control. And things that are out of their control, of course you respond to it, but don't invest too much of energy. Like for example, they'll look at ringgit and USD. What's the rate now? I don't know, 4.5, 4.6. Yeah, but it's out of your control, right? There's only so much you can do. So just do what you can do.
Okay. There's this talk also about nowadays there's a lot of stress. We talked about stress and traffic jams, traveling. Do you travel a lot, like now, here, there, everywhere? Do you get stuck in traffic jams a lot?
Not really, because now I'm self-employed, so I choose when I want to meet with my clients. So I do not pick any time before 10, and also after 4.
Okay. There's the safe zones, the safe timings. Yeah. Even for me also, like, you really don't want to get stuck in traffic, because that just ruins your... You want to be prepared if you want to say go meet clients and things like that. You want to be able to be in the right headspace, and traffic doesn't help. Talking about stresses, comparing is a very interesting thing that a lot of us do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Comparing with successes, comparing with job positions, comparing with whether they're married or not, comparing with whether they have a house, whether they have a car.
Correct,
This whole comparing thing, what are your thoughts on it, and how badly does that affect a person's mental health?
So, speaking of that, I just read like 3 articles in the last 1 week about this. Like someone just voicing out to, like, I think CS or World of Bars, saying that I'm 27, I'm earning X amount, my friends are having bigger house. And then another one was like, I used to have a lot of friends before the pandemic, and then now my business is gone, I lost a lot of friends. So a lot of people, again, live their lives trying to compare. And again, that creates dependency, because those are all external forces which are out of your control. So why want to compare? In fact, if you want to up your game, if you are happy that someone else is successful, I guarantee you are going to be successful. Because again, karma. I'm a strong believer in that. When you are happy that someone else is doing good, you will eventually get the same energy in return. So a lot of people don't have this mindset, right? It's a very, I guess it's also the corporate world and also the education system, because you're constantly being
It's constant
evaluated.
Competition, right?
Correct. They put something tangible, they put something quantifiable, say, hey, look, okay, I'll give you an example. I've got a nephew and niece, Singaporean, right? They scored 93. Yeah, 93 on average for their marks, right? But they're below average.
What?
Yeah, because the students in their class are all like from India and all like, like scoring like 95. So you see, it's relativity. But in actual truth, if you look at it, if you take out relativity, just look at them individually, they're good.
93 is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing. So to me, I think each and every one of us have their own path. Don't compare other people. You can compare, but you need to be very strong emotionally. For example, I use someone else as a reference, as a source of motivation. So that kind of comparison is a healthy comparison. I think that's okay. So I'm not trying to put like a hard no.
Yeah.
But the problem is, a lot of people, when they do this, you need certain skills to do a healthy comparison. Because if you're not equipped with these skills, if you do not remind yourself that, hey, you know what, I'm doing this out of good, you'll fall into that category which you just said. You say, he's driving a bigger car and all that, he's younger than me, blah, 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 he's achieved more than me. So,
Yeah, I think this is it's actually very important to look at yourself first and say, like, whatever path that you're on, I think the most important thing is make the right decision. You'll get somewhere. You need to be confident in your own ability that you can achieve success. I think comparing with like other people who are more successful or have a bigger car or whatever, it gives you that fear and self-doubt. I think self-doubt is it's a real killer in a lot of people. Having that self-doubt, saying that, can I really do this? Can I really achieve? And seeing your peers go in a different path, especially you were IT consultant and you left and you became a stand-up comedian. I'm sure it was tough for you at the start. Like even telling your parents like, Amma, Appa, I have to, I don't want to be an IT consultant. How was that conversation?
Actually, that one was easy. Because one thing about my parents is, despite, I think for a boomer generation, again, not generalizing boomer generation, no, I think they are pretty open. So from young, right, they never forced me to do anything. They were strict. But in terms of career, they were actually okay with anything. And not only that, I also did a safe way because I was doing stand-up comedy part-time for 6.5 years. And I had 600 shows under my belt before I left my job to do full-time.
Wow, 600 shows.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of people who want to be, do their passion, they will immediately say, I don't want to work at all. I just want to start from ground zero. I'm not saying that it can't work. It can, but then your risk is very high. So my parents saw me take the small steps, and I'm not starting from ground zero. So it's a very nice transition.
You had that foundation for you, like when you wanted to take the leap.
Yeah. So, and my parents also know that I'm a bit like a financial savvy. So they know that, this guy, he calculates his expenses and all that. He got some investment going on. So my parents were actually okay with it. The bigger question was on my end in terms of the mental mindset. Yeah, I still remember like the first Monday where I didn't have to work. The first Monday, I was just looking out the window and looking at the traffic jam in my shorts. Like, have I made it? But then
all the people stuck in the traffic jams.
But then my mother's voice came in, but you got no EPF, you got no dental. Yes, ma, I get it. Amma's everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. There's this term that you used, is react and respond, when we were discussing this.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting term. I don't know a lot of people know about it. But what is your thoughts on that? React and respond.
So many people do not know the nuances, right? The little differences between these two. To them, it's just it's just like a reply. It all falls under just reply. I guess responding would be being calm, being in control. Reacting. If you look at, let's say, road rages, right? All these fights and road bullies and all that. That's just reacting, right? If you actually just take a breather, then it'll be so much better. That's why sometimes, like, you look at advisors online, they will say that, like, take a 10-second
pause
break.
Yeah.
Before you reply anything. That actually helps a lot. Because one of the differences between like reacting and respond is probably time as well. Some people, they can respond immediately. That's good. That means you got a very strong emotional intelligence when things are going havoc and you're still calm. That's why they say when things go haywire, don't panic. So the reason why they say don't panic is because all this becomes like a avalanche. It starts snowballing. Everyone starts panicking. Run here, run there.
Yeah.
When you respond, you follow. Okay, let's follow this exit. Blah blah blah, and all that. So that's actually the key difference. And one way how people can practice this is by awareness first. Little things. For example, so I'll give the listeners an example. 3 years ago, I was in a very minor accident. This guy, like, he banged me from behind, actually just nearby here. Right? And then after I got on the car, and I was cool, he was also cool. If we look at the damage, took a picture. Then after they say, you know what? Let's just wait further down because it's causing traffic jam. So we were only on the road for 1 minute. And then after we got to the, maybe 100 meters ahead, where the roads were wider. Basically, here Federal.
Okay.
Then we saw each other's damage and all that. Got each other's number. No shouting, no nothing.
Screaming,
everything was
scolding.
all cool. After I just WhatsApp, and I was very happy with that incident because that was like a very big test for me. And then fast forward the following year, again I got into another accident on the highway, but luckily it was a jam.
Why are you getting into accidents every year, bro?
It's like, no, see, you see what you just said? It's actually a normal thing. Getting into an accident is actually a normal thing. The question is, people, what do you call that? For them, they have this assumption that I'm not supposed to get into an accident. That's why when people get into an accident, you realize when they post on social media, they'll post all the negative things. They'll say that, I got into an accident this morning. After that, I couldn't find a parking. After that, the post office was closed or something, couldn't get my parcel, don't know what and all that. But when you think about it, all of this are normal things.
Yeah,
It's meant to happen. So it's all in the mindset.
Mm.
Yeah. So when I had the second accident, same thing also was all cool. That's when I know I'm really moving up the level. Because one of my areas for improvement before I went full time was I was quite a reactive person. Like many years ago when I first started, I even once like roasted a client, like really hardcore, like just banged the client big time. It was I did a wedding, like I didn't do too well as well. But to be honest, the wedding was badly managed also.
Okay.
But the client wasn't happy with my performance. Now when I think back, I don't think I did a good job as well. So but I went really harsh, and now when I'm more mature, I ask myself, could I have done better? Yes. And one of it is like, responding, emotional intelligence, staying calm. Yeah.
Okay. So do you still have that temper, Nola?
Yes, I wouldn't say no, but very little. Yeah. So
You
I
have it
think
under
just
control,
I
would
think
say.
just to align with everyone who's listening, it's a bit hard to eliminate these things. Is it like human error? You can never eliminate human error, but you can reduce it. See, I'm already applying engineering because addition engineering, high engineering. So a bit of
engineering mindset there.
yeah, engineering mindset.
Okay. Maybe we can talk about, like, we had this discussion also when we were talking about the episode about personal stories in handling mental health. For me, it was, I went through a bit of depression just before I got married, and I went to see a psychologist, and he told me something that really changed my perspective. Was, Dishan, do you know, in a man's life, there are the top 3 most stressful situations to be in is getting married, buying a house, and renovating that house. That's the top 3 most stressful situations, and you're in number 1. So whatever you're going through is actually normal. And that kind of gave me a sense of calm. Because at that point, I was like, why am I like this? Why am I affected? Why am I sad and not happy? And why am I stressed? And this shouldn't be happening to me. I'm better than that. You have all this internal conflict inside you. But when a person who knows how to deal with these type of things can just tell you, bro, chill lah.
Yeah.
Whatever you're going through is normal. So I think that's actually very, very important. And people forget to realize that whatever that they're going on through in life, the struggles make you a better person. The tough times lead to good times, and that's the whole problem. That's the meaning of life, lah. You're living
happier
life.
now after marriage.
Definitely, bro. Definitely happier.
That's a check. He gives the family.
I know my wife is watching.
He just saved his life there, Dishan. Just a check on you, bro.
But yeah, I mean, it was a point in time where I realized that mental health is something that I took for granted. And I've had struggles in life, but at that point in time, going to see someone actually really helped. And I think I was so hesitant in doing it. And I was so like, no, I don't need it. I'm okay, actually. But actually, it's so important. So I'm so grateful that I had the chance and opportunity to do so. And to get just that mindset change, bro, I was fine after that. I managed to handle my issues. I got married. I'm happier now, So I think for me, personal story on handling that issue is a change of mindset. Talking to someone outside your circle of friends is actually important.
Yeah.
Because I feel if you talk to a third person, they don't have any biasness towards you. If you're wrong, they say, bro, you're wrong. If you're right, they say you're right. And if they say like whatever they're going through is normal, you're like, oh yeah, I think whatever I'm going through is normal. You have that sense where it's actually okay.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do. What about your own journey in mental health and things like that?
Yeah, I would say the first 2 lockdowns, I didn't have any mental health. I didn't face any problems, which was quite interesting because on social media was the other way around. Looking at people who were struggling, I was okay. Even though the first lockdown, I went like 5 months with 0 income. Mentally, I was okay because I was actually looking forward to it. I know it's a bit weird to say that. No, it's because I went for, short story. I went for Tony Robbins' workshop, 5 days, right? And we had a exercise where he asked us to shout our rock bottom issues. And everyone shouted their rock bottom issues. My rock bottom issue at that time was not being productive. That's it, But when I hear the rest, it's like like bankruptcy, divorce, really broke, abuse and all that. And I'm like, wow, I'm doing quite well. So I never had a pain point, a big pain point. So when I had zero income, I was quite happy. I say, okay, now I'm going to use that to push me. So mentally, I was okay. But the third lockdown, which was quite interesting, because the third lockdown I was doing financially well, because I really pivoted to virtual comedy.
Oh, okay.
But I felt numb in my mind, like just numb.
Oh.
There's not much feelings. Like my senses are not working. Like a partial robot kind of thing. I'm thinking, what is going on? Just after a week, still numb. So yeah, weirdly, I bought a Nintendo Switch. Which is very weird because I stopped gaming since high school. The last console I had was a PSP and a PS2.
Okay.
And that's for the Gen Y old folks. Alpha generation. What is PS2? But yeah. So that helped me a bit, to play games. This is also the proof that I think people shouldn't go too hard on gaming and all that. At the end of the day, is because people usually say, this guy is gaming, that's why he got bad results. It's not that. It's his time management. So again, root cause analysis. So when I started playing games, I felt better. I also started doing some jogs in the walks in the sun. Because I read this online during the third lockdown, that the problem with being indoors, you don't get sunlight. When you don't get sunlight, your body clock does not work as well. Which means you become less productive. So that's a very key thing that I learned in the third lockdown. And also affects your mental health. So I started doing these morning walks just to get sunlight to, get my body clock work better. So yeah.
I've seen you've done this roasting on social media, and you actually do a lot of advice. You gave a lot of advice to a lot of different people. People like come to you and say, Gajen, I have this problem, I have that problem, and how do you do this and how do you do that? Do you take this sense of responsibility to try to solve people's problems, and what is your thoughts on people reaching out and talking? Because like for me, it was going out and getting help. Do you think that's very important, and do you think like social media could actually play that part as well? Because you yourself have done it actually on social media.
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, there are two sides of story. Some people say social media is bad. Some people say social media is good. At the end of the day, it's a tool. What you use it for is like a knife. You use a knife correctly, you could be a carpenter, you could be a chef. You use it badly, you'll be a murderer. And then you'll get a psychologist like you to go and study. Why did you murder? Why? Tell me why. So the same as social media is how you use it, right? So to me, I think it's very important. Like what you said, voicing out to someone. Because we all programmed that if you ask for help, you are weak. There's the programming that we use to grow. That's why you're a bit hesitant.
Yes.
But there's nothing wrong asking. So even our education system also, say any questions.
Nobody raises their hand.
Yeah, because you don't want to piss off, right, the teacher and all that. So we are sort of programmed in that way. But in actual truth, when you ask a question, it shows that you want to grow. Which is a positive thing. There's nothing wrong with it. So I think it's really helpful. And a lot of my followers also know that when they ask questions, another thing, people usually ask questions when they feel it's safe. So you see some companies, right, the employees don't voice out to the managers, the senior managers or directors, because the leaders have not created a safe zone. When I say safe, I'm not talking about physical safe. I'm talking about, the
emotional safety.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The human connection. A lot of people don't know this because it's intangible. So a lot of my followers, they feel safe with me. They say like, you know what, this guy, he's, these are like his core values, like happiness, basically helping people grow their career. So they ask this kind of questions. And yeah, I think like this one says solve people's problems. I would say help, which is the same thing as just a rephrasing, like helping them grow their careers and all that. Like I'll share with you. Recently, I put this NGL link, what do you call this anonymous link where people can just type in, right?
Yeah.
This guy said, hi Gajen, I'm not sure if you remember this. 2 years ago, you asked me to look for a job which has a good environment. Now I'm working in Singapore. I'm in a much better environment. Thank you for the advice. I don't even remember what I said. But based on what my what do you call that? My messaging is usually for people, I always say, prioritize job environment first, role second. And the logic behind this is very simple. You could have the best role, but if you're in a very toxic environment, that's it. You're gone case. But if let's say you don't really have the role that you want, but you're in the best environment, eventually you will like your role. It's just like a subject that you don't like. But if I give you the most engaging teacher, the most fun teacher,
Yeah.
you will eventually like that subject.
Yeah.
So yeah, because of social media, I've managed to help people.
I mean, that's great. So maybe we can finish it off. We've talked for a while already. Maybe we can finish off of what do you define as success in your own definition?
To me, I think success is doing what you enjoy and enjoy what you're doing. It may be a very simple thing, but a lot of people still struggle to find this. A lot of people have this mindset where I go to work to put my children to better education, which is not wrong, by the way, but it needs to be deeper than that. See that line, I go to work to pay off bills and all. This is all tangible stuff. Tangible stuff is something a robot can do. What are the intangible stuff emotionally, right? You want to enjoy what you do. What do you enjoy doing? So I guess that's the key thing. Yeah. A lot of people in the corporate world are still struggling to find what is their purpose. See, at the end of the day, if you look at it, right, you're being paid to solve a problem.
Correct.
And solving a problem, in my words, I like to put it, adding value to people's life. Yeah. So a lot of people still struggle to find this. I think if you just find this, you are really successful. Yeah.
Do you think because a lot of your followers, I would say, would be also people in the corporate world trying to find their role, trying to find what drives them and things like that. Do you feel like in the corporate setting right now, are conversations about mental health, are there more conversations about mental health than before?
Definitely.
And do you think there needs to be more? Because I've been in a corporate setup and it's not easy, and
Correct.
It's quite mentally draining, and every day you're just back. You sit in an office every day and you don't really do physical work, but you're just so mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
And that takes a toll on you. So what are your thoughts that what should corporate companies do more better to handle that, like mental health issues?
So to answer your first question, right, the answer is yes. So that's a very positive thing. The corporate scene in Malaysia, a lot of the companies are really putting more effort in terms of mental health talks and all that. And when I say corporate scene, I'm just not talking about MNCs. I'm talking about like GLCs, even local companies. So that's a very nice thing to see. I guess the next step for corporate companies to up their game is not just hire speakers to come and give talks. Like I said, it needs to come from top down. You can get the best speaker. At the end of the day, those are like supplements. Those are like workshops. You attend a workshop, you'll be excited for the next 3 days after the workshop. After it dies down.
Yeah.
It's like a supplement. You take vitamin C, it's going to last you for 1-2 days. And then that's why you got to take it constantly. So what I'm trying to say is leaders will need to make sure that they have created an environment where it's mentally healthy. For example, leaders need to ask themselves, are they toxic? Do they know what is punching up, punching down when they speak to someone? Do they understand empathy? Do they understand listening skills? Even listening is such a basic thing which people don't know.
Yeah.
When you speak to someone, you can sort of sense if they're listening or they're just on standby, just giving a reply. I've worked with different leaders who don't have this empathy skills, don't have listening skills, who don't know how to add value, don't know how to understand and all that. They've got very high turnover rate, as in low job retention rate.
Yeah.
People leave, So I guess that's the next thing for corporates that they need to do. They need to upskill themselves, communication skills, empathy, understanding what the employees want, what are they good at, appreciating. How many leaders actually even say like, thank you, you have done a great job. But
there's no gratitude.
Exactly. That's why whenever I MC events, I always like look up to like MDs that thank the committee team that came up, who organized the event, because they're doing something that's out of their job scope.
Correct.
Or even thank the employees who go up on stage and perform little things like that. Yeah, they're doing something extra. So it's these little things. It needs to come from top down. You could have the best, let's say, I don't know, tutors or teachers, but let's say your parents are toxic, you will be spending most of the time with them. So that'll be the next thing for, I guess, corporate folks. They need to ask themselves, if any employees have not voiced out their problems, that could be an issue for the leader. That means you have not created a safe zone. If employees have voiced out, that's actually a good sign. It shows that they're connected. It shows they're a good leader.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of like leaders being in management, people management is one of the most difficult jobs in the world.
Absolutely.
Managing people you have to have a wide range of skills, and sometimes you still may do mistakes and still make mistakes. And I feel like people need to realize that having issues is normal, but how you handle it and how you solve the problem is very, very important, because that kind of builds that safe environment that you were talking about. If you had an employee who spoke out on something that you did, and your subordinate who's not happy with something that you did, and then you have to handle it the right way. Because if you handle it the wrong way, nobody else is going to speak out.
Correct.
That creates a very toxic environment.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you. So it's about 40 minutes now. It's a long conversation we've had with you, Gajen. We appreciate you coming on the show. Maybe your final thoughts on the year is going to end. Elections are coming up. People are up in the air about the country. Maybe your thoughts on how can they kind of ready themselves for the change that's about to happen and all this uncertainty in the country right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I guess the first key thing that people need to remind themselves is change is constant.
Yes.
I say change is constant as in things are constantly changing. If you didn't understand the 2 words, then maybe try to mix around with intellectuals. Or maybe listen to more episodes of Healthy Roja. So change is actually normal, right? People who want to stay, very rigid, unfortunately, that's, you have seen a lot of big companies that died, which I won't mention. Okay, so. Yeah. So you got to be adaptable. That's number one. So change is normal. Number two, like I think like this audition and me spoke about things that are in control and, out of your control.
Yeah.
Your time is not going to run away. Your energy is not going to run away. It's all within your control. So make use of that. Things that are within your control. Things that are out of your control, just let it be as it is. That's all I can say. And I would say, speaking about Malaysia, since you mentioned elections and all that, my thoughts on this, I see a lot of people bashing a lot. I see a lot of people complimenting a lot. I'm a strong believer in holistic thinking and balanced thinking. Yeah, we do have our flaws, but I still like to believe that I think we are doing quite okay as compared to internationally. Because a lot of people don't follow global news. To a lot of people, global news means UK, US. I say, hello, there's also Africa, there's South America, there's other parts of Asia. I think we are doing quite okay. And mainly it's because of Malaysians ourselves. A lot of other countries, when they're unhappy about something, they go really havoc, like on the streets, like really hardcore, up to the point where there's even deaths involved. Like even our neighboring country, if you all follow the news regarding the football match, more than 100 deaths over a football match, mind you, let alone something even more serious. In Malaysia, thankfully, we haven't seen anything as insane. Touch wood. So I would say Malaysia is one of those countries where we got so much of potential to be, I think, minimum 3 times better. And I think the best assets of Malaysia will be the people, So, keep adding value to our country, keep helping each other, like, kita jaga kita. That's another important thing. That's the most beautiful thing I saw in Malaysia. But during lockdown, was we helped each other. That was, I know I wouldn't, trade that for anything else. That was beautiful. So, to all Malaysians, let's keep developing our country and, stay happy.
All right. That was Gajen on the Healthy Roja podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for listening. I learned a lot about your life and also about this thinking and how we need to kind of learn all these new skills. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. My name is Dishan Kumar. We will see you in the next show. Please follow us on all our social media platforms, on YouTube, on Instagram. And we will bring you more conversations on mental health and also health and wellness issues. See you in the next episode. Goodbye. Bring the funk.